So I'm Silvia Cibien. I am Italian, so my English isn't perfect, but I hope you will understand me anyway. And Agustina Lumi is also from EUROVOD. She's actually an expert since more than 10 years on the VOD sectors, coming from Argentina. I will let her give a short presentation about her expertise, but we are going to talk to you a little bit about EUROVOD, what we do. We will give an overview about the business models that are in these industries, some market analysis and data, and then we are going to talk with Vernon and Denis, which are managing both a couple or even more in the case of Denis VOD platforms, and give you advice, tips and tricks about how to deal with VOD platforms. So this is not a boring lecture, so please ask a question, be interactive. We are here for really answer to any question you have. It is not easy. Myself, I was actually arriving from the art house theatrical sectors a couple of years ago. And I know that sometimes there are really a lot of questions that we don't dare to ask. This is the time for ask all these questions you have in your to your side and you would like to us to answer. So I'm going to share the screen very briefly, but first of all, Agustina, I will maybe let you present yourself briefly.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Silvia. Thank you to the team of CoPro and DocuShark for this opportunity of letting us show and give voice to the platforms, because you just see kind of an online site where you can watch movies, but actually there are lots of people working behind having an offer for customers or users or spectators. So I come from Argentina. I'm based in Madrid now, so I'm really working hard with the industry here in Spain. Just for you to know, because if I get blurred or confused, this is my second workshop of the day, so I'm kind of, you have to be patient with me. Now we're going to share a lot of insights with Silvia. We prepared a nice PowerPoint. Don't worry, again, this is not going to school. It's kind of taking the opportunity of really knowing the kitchen of the VOD world. So thank you for having us. So Silvia, this is you now. You share your screen.
Yes. Okay, I hope we're going to see it properly, but so EUROVOD, what we are actually a French association created 10 years ago in France, and we are nowadays the only established association of European VOD platforms. In November 2020, we gathered 30 members from 19 countries. The core member of our association are European VOD platform with at least 40% of European content in catalog. That means that we are actually fostering a lot European content, but not only, because we also have affiliate and associate members who are stakeholders. That means other branches of the chain of rights, but are also other VOD platforms not European, or European VOD platform that has less than 40% of European films in catalog. These are our objectives. Basically, our main goal is really to promote the diversity of content all around the world, and fostering our members in order to have business development and also strengthen the dialogue with the chain of rights and the tech industry. I forgot to mention previously, if you want the PowerPoint presentation, I will share it with you. You can ask me directly. The email is at the end of the presentation, or to CoPro to share it with you. There are a lot of slides. I'm not going to go into the details of all of them, but if you have some questions, please ask me. So we are working on several actions. Network and benchmark. We want to foster the competitiveness of the sector. We also have a kind of lobby role, and we do activities in order to promote and inform the professionals around the VOD sector. We have a training course, the European VOD meetings. We have a VOD Market Day, the 2nd edition. We just launched our professional platform for the VOD world, which is open to all professionals all around the world. And Agustina is going to present to the platform later on. We also produce a report about independent VOD services in Europe. And we also, of course, are cooperating with European public policies and regulators. These are our members. Actually, there are 3 more that are adding the team this year. And these are the 2 with who you're going to talk today. We also have another VOD platform only specialized in documentary, which is Knock the Doc. Some references. How many VOD platforms there are? Who knows? Only in Europe, I think there are something like 2,200 VOD platforms, considering also TV and same brand, but spread in several countries. For documentaries, there are around 368 platforms, which you can find in the Mavis database, which is an online database, free, that it has been built and is managed by the European Audiovisual Observatory and co-financed by the European Commission. So this is the link where at least you can find maybe not all the contacts, but at least you can have a kind of overview about which are the European, the VOD platform that are operating in Europe. So it is not enough. Mavis database or in general, other market analysis that we find a little bit all around the world are not complete at all. So we had an idea. Let's try to have a kind of Wikipedia in a way, or a kind of a Tinder of VOD, which is EUROVOD Pro. Our newborn professional platform just launched 1 month ago in the beta version. Agustina helped us hugely to launch this product. So maybe it's better if she can take the floor and say a few words about EUROVOD Pro. And the role in the industry.
Of course. As Silvia said, the aim, the main objective of EUROVOD as an association is to, of course, make the whole sector cooperate, collaborate, and build bridges and build partnerships and get people together, get companies, do matchmaking, and not only this kind of meetings like this webinar we are having, where people try to get into some of the insights regarding what's going on in the industry. You perhaps are looking for a partner, a tech provider. You are looking for some documents on market analysis, like the ones we are going to share afterwards. So if you're doing that, know that EUROVOD, the Association of VOD Platforms in Europe, is developing and has developed this tool, this online tool, not for you just to phone a friend or attend to a webinar to know what's going on, but to have a user, a password, a subscription, and show what you do and find what you're looking for. So we build this B2B platform. It's not B2C, it's just for professionals. We have, as you have seen in the other slide, we have lots of people who are on board, other B2B platforms. Of course, DocuShack is one of our partners because they want to build partnerships. They want to build a huge sector on VOD like us. So the next slide. So this is some of our look and feel, the look and feel of EUROVOD Pro. What's the network search? You have our members, you have other companies, you have documents, and you can search or filter which company are you looking for. And as I said on the other slide, we really need and want you to take advantage of this tool, not only our training courses, our report that I'm going to to share some insights, and Sylvia as well, about what we have checked that is happening around the sector. But you can showcase yourself, you can share what you have, you can find, and of course, develop a business around EUROVOD Pro. It's just a subscription-based model where any AV and techie companies can access, and you can get to see what I said, who's out there, share information, find what you're looking for. And in the next couple of months, we will develop some other features. We have now our beta version, but we will have job opportunities, e-learning capsules, more marketing online, publications, and different relevant information. So it's eurovodpro.org. If you're curious about that, or we will share our emails. If you're curious about the tool or about what Sylvia said regarding that we published a report on European VOD sector that called Diverse, Dynamic, and Sustainable, you can find it there. You can download the report as well. It's more or less 60 pages, right, Sylvia? I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
60, between 60 to 70 pages, in which you will find not only our platforms, these case studies, the platforms have the voice and tell us which are the strategies they have been building these past months, and they have already built through the years. So you can access that at eurovodpro.org.
And just to complete, I would like to say that as it is so hard sometimes to know who are the VOD platform, what they do, which kind of content they're looking for, on which territories they're working, which kind of deal they do, I mean, which business model they have. EUROVOD Pro is for us really a tool where basically you're going to, first of all, contact the right platform, and not a platform that has nothing to do with the content that you would like to distribute. And yes, build the bridges which has meanings and have contacts, especially. So data and contacts, this is the most important things. Yes. Sorry if I interrupt you, Agustina, but now actually we would like to have a kind of alphabet, as you said, of the different business models in VOD, because maybe not all of you know what that means. For us, these are words that we use a lot. But maybe not all of you are aware of the meaning of this, so maybe you can go through that.
Yes, actually, last week we had another presentation during Torino Short Film Market, and it was really useful to clarify these words, because perhaps as we are always knowing this and saying this during our meetings and the markets, but really these are the business models that perhaps you can focus and say, how do I want to monetize my content? If I'm a producer, I'm a distributor, I'm starting, I don't know what to do. So there are different options and business models, and sometimes there are platforms that share business models or offer you, as a content producer or as a distributor, they offer you the possibility, the chance to have your content monetized through its different business models. So I would say we would start with TVOD. It's the most easy to understand. It's a transactional video on demand that users pay for each video or each content, each movie, or as Denis perhaps will tell us regarding other types of platforms, you pay for instance, a live music concert. You pay kind of a ticket. So that's a bit of challenging, as Sylvia added to the presentation, because TVOD and how do we get the return. So we will talk about that later, but TVOD, transactional video on demand, it has a kind of a new form that one of our members of EUROVOD filming that is from Spain is really exploiting, which is the premium transactional, this kind of premium content before going to the theater, these premieres, exclusive content, you pay this amount of money as a user and you access to that, different kind of returns. We will talk about that later. The most popular for users is a subscription video on demand. You access to a catalog while paying some amount of money monthly or yearly or during a quarter of the year. One of, I don't know, Vernon and Denis will of course share their business models in Tank and Docs Online, which are kind of different, and it's good to give them voice as well. We have the AVOD, another word in the VOD alphabet, which is video on demand based on advertising. You as a user just have this kind of advertising before or during each of the videos you're watching. We, of course, have this US giant, which is YouTube, which is advertising VOD, that everyone knows, but there are lots of other options in Europe. And we will say something regarding AVOD because it's really growing. And we have finally the FVOD that Sylvia really made a point there, because there are free catalogs that are online that perhaps are more linked to cinematheques or public institutions that give for free some of their curation as national film boards or whatever. But she made a point regarding piracy, that we should check that afterwards during the talk, during the debate with the guys. So,
Yeah.
Sylvia, you want to add anything else on the alphabet?
No, I mean, all these business models have their own advantages. Okay, it depends really from when and to whom you're selling your content. I mean, maybe it's better to understand how your content would fit into different catalogs or business model, depending also to the life of your film. In some cases, it's better to go straight forward for premium. In some other cases, it's better to have another kind of deals. It's easy to get confused, but at the same time, both have really, all of them are really advantages and also some bad sides, I would say. For instance, AVOD is the one who is growing the most. But you know, then it's not always easy to find advertising, especially during this period. SVOD is the one growing the most, especially thanks to Netflix, but it's also very hard to monetize. So there are also a lot of platforms that shut down, and it's also harder to have some kind of content online. TVOD is the one who is like most simple to maybe to deal with, but it's, even if it's growing, is growing less than SVOD or so on. I mean, I'm not the expert here. The two experts going to speak after. So Denis and
yes,
and Vernon. Yes.
I would add, Sylvia, that of course, depending on which is the goal that you have with your content, that there are different time slots in the life of a content where these different models fit. Perhaps you can start with one, then go to the other. And regarding AVOD, there's another thing, that these business models depend on the target and the audience that each platform segment. For instance, AVOD, it's really, I mean, young people don't really matter to have to watch an advertisement of some kind of publicity or branded content if they get a free content afterwards. For instance, teenagers, they are all of using YouTube or TikTok or whatever other platforms of short formats or not, and they don't care if they have to watch advertising products. So in this case, I would say that, as Amper Analysis has said in August this year, we have to be aware of what is happening in AVOD, because they are also really refreshing their catalogs more than SVOD. So there's an industry there, and you should be aware of the decisions you make regarding your content, either if you are distributors or producers willing to sell your content, because there's lots of transformations and changes going on this 2020 regarding the business models in VOD. So the next slide. And regarding documentaries, you know that true stories are always appealing, and this 2020 has given us some proof regarding the boom on production of documentaries. Why? Some say because of the flexibility of the model when you shoot documentaries, because we have COVID and we have to go with masks and we have protocols and we have measures. So in this case, documentaries are being kind of having a benefit, perhaps not only in audience consumption, but also in production, because there are lots of documentaries not only feature, but series that are really being shot around Europe and around the world as well. Lots of docu-series premiere are along and around all our VOD platforms. So I should advise you to always stay on the loop, not only through EUROVOD Pro, but through other sources of information that you get to see what's going on in production globally regarding documentaries. There are lots of documentaries being commissioned by VODs. That's what I mean, or TV networks that have VOD services, right? Yeah. So regarding our report, that again, we are going to have some details during this webinar, but we are not going to go through the 60 pages. And we would like you to go into EUROVOD Pro or just email us and we will share this information with you. There's lots of insights to show. Of course, on-demand services grew really fast during 2020 and were like being like the queens of the whole pandemic situation. This showed us a lot because it showed us that audience demands were really high, and technology is really key to VOD growth, because if not, if you're out in that subject, you cannot reach more audiences. Of course, people want content on the move, so mobile phones are really important, not during the lockdown, but afterwards, during the summer here in Europe, when the whole thing reopened, people were still having this aim for content, of course. And this is important, one of the last points, that consumers are really open to multiple SVOD accounts. So subscription stacking, this is kind of something one of our experts, Michael Gabbins, is always insisting on this, because subscribers, for instance, in the US now, they're having 2 or 3 SVOD accounts, I mean, averagely. So lots of people in their homes consuming content through different accounts in different platforms. Just for you to state and to be on the loop about this, VODs are product-oriented things, no, people-oriented platforms. VODs are always thinking about what people want, not just the content. They curate the content, but we are following the user to see what the user is doing. So we have to be aware of that, not only because of this, but because we build communities of interest. We are not speaking in a niche way. We don't say anymore, we are targeting to niches. We are targeting to communities of interest. So there are lots of people apart from the niche we think it's behind our content, or it's going to be interested in our content. We are building something that is bigger, communities that are interested in our content, or in our, perhaps in the identity of our platform. That's why we work a lot in the user experience. This is something important as well. So documentaries really have exploded recent years, of course, and they're one of the, as Silvia has stated in the PPT, is one of the fastest growing areas of the film economy. Look how between 2010 and 2018, there was a big increase in the number of productions in the EU. I can say that in Latin America as well. In Latin America, we have a big production of documentaries, and also in not only in VODs, but they go also to theaters. They get lots of distribution in theatrical in Latin America and in festivals as well. So something that you as documentary producers, I'm getting, my light is doing like this. You should know that this is something important, and we are stating it in the report, that audiences began to explore a lot during COVID crisis. And this was kind of something VODs tried to build in regarding audience development. They made better curations, more intense curation and editorializing. And this is something that not only documentaries, but animation features as well, or short films, they really benefit from that. We are creating kind of this audience, a potential audience that is really needing more documentaries. So that is something that you should take into account. Sylvia, I'm going just to state one example from before you take the lead, because we were thinking with Sylvia about some examples from, of course, besides of Vernon and Denis they are showing their view in a couple of minutes. We wanted to share with you one of EUROVOD members, which is filming another platform, which is not specialized in documentaries, but they did a good job this year regarding making agreements with festivals which needed a place to go online or to go hybrid. And they have a really beautiful example regarding a documentary called My Mexican Pretzel, that you will find it online or really in a short term of time. You will have it in theaters. I don't know if in Israel, but here in Europe it will launch. It's a kind of a really piece of work, a documentary work, which was based on found footage. It was a documentary, really work of an author. It was not a big blockbuster, but according to the people in filming, if the documentary couldn't have the opportunity of being a VOD and being online and getting the attention of influencers, people who were there, because the screenings that it had, they were like really small in audience numbers. If the documentary was not able to be in VOD, and it really was during, I think, March or May this year. I think in May they made a big premiere in filming. If that hadn't happened, it wouldn't have got the attention of the international distributors that is having now, and the enthusiastic people who are following this story, My Mexican Pretzel, and the documentary wouldn't have had the chance to see the light in movie theaters as now it's having the light and seeing the light during the following weeks. So this kind of collaboration between VODs, festivals, cinemas, these different business models and different windows are bringing more audience to documentaries that perhaps cannot have the attention or the slots in the programming of the cinemas, but after showing and proving that audiences are there through the online option, theaters and movie theaters really interest themselves in releasing them. So just to state this, because VOD is not replacing cinemas, VOD is complementing cinemas or other forms of exhibition in order to engage audiences. So documentaries are part of this movement as well. So passing the floor to Silvia.
Yeah, so thank you, August. Now we're going to go very quickly because we are taking quite a lot of time, but we're going very quickly to some data, numbers, and figures. Some of this data came from the report that we wrote, and is based from interviews, but also to a survey that we did in our network. Not all of them answered, but we have quite a big piece of elements for underlining some trends in the independent VOD sectors. And then I'm going to show you some data of Ampere Analysis, UK service specialized in data, with who we cooperate a couple of times until now in the past year. So who are our VOD platforms? Basically, they are selling films to the audience, B2C, but they also have other kinds of activities. Some of these services are also aggregators or do theatrical distribution, are tech providers, DVD distributors, do regular theatrical distribution, and also they own some cinemas. So they are diverse, and when you contact a VOD platform, have a look about who they are, because sometimes they can also help you distribute your content to other platforms. They are basically offering TVOD and EST. EST means when you are buying the content. TVOD is mean like rental. So basically, the most part of them is having or TVOD or SVOD or a hybrid offer. So both of them. But there are also quite a lot of platforms that are actually working with the schools. And this is also another kind of approach. We didn't talk about that until now, but actually there is quite a large job that some platforms do really with video libraries and schools. And some of them also go on IPTV, so on TV, on pay TV. I would say that the most part of our platform are international, so are available in more countries. Some of them are global, and still we have some national services, even if some of them are now international because things are moving so quick. But basically, when you contact the VOD platform, which is independent, be aware that they are or keen in really working on the local audience, or they are international. So there are some of these platforms, and for instance, Agustina was talking about Filmin, is basically international because it's active in Spain and Portugal. But let's say that the main income came from Spain, but they know very well their audience, and it's a great platform. So sometimes, work on several kind of platforms, some of them which are national and some other who are international or even global. That doesn't mean that a global platform necessarily touch more people than the national one. Really take the time to do your homework and discover who are these people, what they do, how they work, how they build their audience attention.
And because of that, if you want to offer a content, you really need to know who you are offering your content to, because that person, if you do not address the right platform because your content is not related to it, you are practically banning yourself with this platform. You won't be able to sell another product because it's kind of, you don't know who you're talking to. So that's important. That's why the report and the market analysis, it's really interesting.
It is. And documentaries, just to mention, is one of the kind of content where platforms want to invest in the future. So it's not only Amazon or Netflix which are helping films not only to be distributed, but to found and produce documentaries. Also, independent VOD platforms do so. So I'm going to go very quick on this. Just remember that most part of our films, at least more than the 50%, has at least 1,000 films in catalog, 50% more than 5,000. We have services were very much focused, that's true, on national content and European content, but classic and library titles are also very much requested. So not just the new release, but also catalog films. Then, okay, this is a kind of overview about the report. Honestly, if you're going to read it, maybe you don't even need all this data because we don't have so much time. But yes, there is a kind of diversity also in the kind of devices that are used in our services. So 35% is using computer, 22% mobile, 11% TV, and 10% tablet. And technology is actually one of the main challenge that all of us has, and that's why cooperation is super important all along the sector. Yeah, there has been, of course, a growth during the lockdown, as you can see. 68% of our platform had an increase in traffic, and more than 60% also in transactions, because traffic is not necessarily converted in transactions. And then, yeah, I would say that the average in EUROVOD is plus 270% of growth. And there is a lot of cooperation with the distributor, festivals, local institutions. So there is an acceleration of cooperation that was already existing before, but during the lockdown, the COVID, we really see that now finally VOD is beginning to be a little bit more understood, and there are long-term partnerships that are built between VOD platforms and the other stakeholders of the chain of rights. There are, of course, some barriers for the development, like the lack of marketing and promotional resources. Content is often held back by distributors, the cost of OMGs, especially for the new production, and there are some technical limits, of course, to be solved. But what's true is that VOD platforms were already there, ready for lockdown, not only because the technology allows them, but because they were already working with an audience that were looking for this kind of content. And what was really interesting during the lockdown is that people loved to seek national content, documentaries, and even classics. As Agustina said, they were very much open to experiment. And this trend has a little bit changed, of course, at the end of the lockdown, but we still see a kind of new behavior. Also in audiences that never went online, never saw a film online before, and were forced to go online because the theatrical release were not, I mean, there were no theatrical release, the theaters were closing. So all these new people went online and they were trusting the offer of their local institution in order
what we
find
see
the right film.
What we see, Silvia, sorry for interrupting, what we see is an opportunity for segmented content, not only for these kind of not mainstream films, but also to content, or for content which is local but has a global kind of point of view, and they have universal themes around, not only in VODs. I told Silvia this happened as well in theatrical with documentaries, because there were the US majors were not releasing films. So there was kind of a new place for art house that was perhaps not there. So the COVID is a crisis, but an opportunity for some of us.
Yeah. That is the case. We are not maybe going all through these slides, but I thank very much on Analysis because I was in my presentation taking some data outside of our network. They presented this data in September during the VOD Market Day in Venice, and then also used some data that they showed during IDFA last year, when the situation was kind of different. So important things is not anymore only about Netflix. There is a huge diversification now in the actors who globally are having an impact on the VOD ecosystem. Still remember, pay TV is in a way stronger than online services in terms especially of transactions, because pay TV is more expensive normally also than online services. Well, yeah, there is a kind of streaming stack as we were seeing, and in Europe we are seeing more or less the same result that US. I know that I'm going very fast, but we already spoke something like 20 minutes.
Yes, and we can share this information, but the whole overview, I think it's kind of going to some dots and connecting them with you during the debate with the guys, with Vernon and Denis, I think. No?
Yeah. Right? This is kind of actually this kind of slides is more about Netflix and Amazon strategy, especially for funding documentaries. But we don't have Netflix now. Netflix, I'm not going to speak on their behalf. I'm just sharing with you some data that has been collected from one of our partner analysts. And yeah, this is a kind of snapshot of the biggest streaming buyers of documentary in Europe, just you to know. But as I said, I'm going to share the slides. And yeah, there is a kind of boost in general for the documentary sector. As we said, actually Quibi shut down, Agustina.
Yeah. Yes, actually Quibi didn't get the whole scope about the audience development, and they are shutting down after doing a really big investment in marketing, and they're not they didn't get to do it. So in any case, I think our advice, and because we will pass the word to the guys in some minutes, our advice is for you to know that, of course, platforms are commissioning documentaries, and they're producing and they're buying. And it's not just about the big 5 or the big 6 now, because we have Disney Plus and we have Apple Plus and whatever. But it's not about them only, because we have a really strong sector of independent VOD platforms that are also struggling to gain more audience, and they get good results on that. So it's just for you to know that this is happening. These are trends that they're going on during 2020, right?
Yeah, it is. Okay, here, as you can see, I show you some kind of slides. I hope that you were like seeing some data, but I think it's better now to thank you and stop here the presentation. We can come back on some of these data and analysis afterward, but I would really like to give the floor to Denis and Vernon. So here, our contact. Please contact us for any question you have about the association, our members, or EUROVOD Pro.
Because, Silvia, they are the living voice of what we have already said. I mean, they are VOD platforms, they are segmenting the documentary world, they are trying to build audiences, they are thinking about commissioning documentary works, and they are art house. They are not just curating anything. So, Denis, Vernon, I don't know if Vernon is able to show his face because we had some tech problems. I don't know if is he able?
He's
no.
Not responding for some reason. We have Denis with us.
I just clicked start video, but nothing is happening.
Oh my God. Bueno, so you will be like kind of Big Brother voice there?
No, but we can hear you, but we'll take care of it in a second, okay?
Okay.
So Denis, just unmute yourself if you want to talk.
So Silvia, I give you the voice if you want to present them.
So I would like to listen your voice now. So if you can just tell to the audience who you are, what you do, how is working your platform, which identity has, and also how do you work with the documentary films and with the stakeholders? I mean, which is your philosophy, challenges, and also opportunities that you see in the future.
Shall I start then, or does Vernon?
Yes, go.
Yes. All right. So my name is Denis, as was previously mentioned, and as Sylvia said, I'm a hyperactive man of sorts, because I do 3 things professionally, amongst other stuff. One, I'm a founder of Polka Talk, which is a tech company providing streaming services to create platforms with embedded copyright management with blockchain protocols. That's big wordy, but that, as far as I'll go on that one. I'm also very happy to have been elected treasurer of EUROVOD, so that's my disclosure for the day. And the last thing which brings me here, stepping in for Sylvain Baldus, who's our head of acquisition, is I'm the deputy director of Tank. So I'm not sure who's heard about Tank or not, but to try and summarize it in a few words, Tank is a platform that's been created in 2016, 4 years ago, in Lussas on the backbone of a documentary festival that was what existed in Lussas since 1982, if I'm not wrong. So there's a tradition in Lussas of hosting documentary films in a yearly festival, and with a clear bias towards creation and authors, as opposed to what you might, what one might watch on television about themes or TV reporting or whatnot. It's really about how the film is created, what's telling us about its author, and we have a very strong viewpoint on the on the outlook of on the world. So we have a specificity in Tank that derives from that, is that our acquisitions are not driven by a whole catalog in which we'll go and fix stuff, which is what the majority of VOD platforms might want to do, including the Senso TV I have on the side with Polka Talk. What we do in Tank is that we go through a list of public figures or personalities, if you like, and professional programmers who will, come forward with a list of films they think deserve attention, that we should program. From there, we define a programming grid, sort of for the coming months, and it's only then that we start looking for, the right holders, and to try and negotiate the film and buy them or rent them or whichever business model we want. Typically, what Teng does is that we buy rights for a given time period, usually about 3 months, and then we have an opt-in of going to VOD, because on the platform there's two things. There's SVOD, so people have a subscription and they have a curation of films they can watch. And on the side, if they missed it, then they've got a VOD option where they can purchase the film for small amount to watch things that were in a previous programming grid, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
What's really important about the way Teng does things, and maybe Vernon would say we do exactly the same thing, so that would be encouraging actually, is that what's really interesting for us is what the film is saying, the strength, the strongholds of the film. This is what really matters to us, and how it relates to a topic we might want to discuss, rather than onboarding any kind of film and just hoping for the best. There's a lot of curation, a lot of prescription about how the film is marketed. And I believe for a start, and I think the rest of the team as well, believes that what really matters today, beyond having content, which was the forte of the early 2000s. Now in SVOD, what really matters is how you engage your audience. This is what we've been talking about earlier, but it's really paramount, and we really see this in having a low churn. If you want low churn on your VOD documents, you really need to engage with your audience.
Maybe can you define what a low churn is? Because I'm not sure that everyone knows.
Well, it's good you're only stopping me now, because I thought I was thinking you're going to stop me earlier with all that wordy stuff I tend to say. No, churn is the level of how many users you lose to how many users you actually gain. So it's the stability of your, customer base, basically. The thing about Teng is that we're an independent film professional in a way, so we have rather low budgets in terms of acquisition, which also drives the price of what we. Also, we tend to buy one film from a whole catalog. So there are a number of distributors who are not too happy to work with us, because they would hope to sell, a bulk, which is a tradition in the film market, and we are a bit different in that way. So it sometimes makes the acquisition a bit difficult. And because we think there's such an added value in what we do in terms of editorial and prescription, with a focus on the content, that it so happens sometimes our the people who actually advise us on the films we should buy, they'll come up with films that are rare, forgotten, disappeared, are invisible, or whatever. So even getting the material itself is a bit of a challenge. And Sylvain sometimes looks a bit like a private detective, because he goes to libraries or whatever, trying to find the DVD to then encode it in digital, So we don't stop at what's on the catalog. We actually really go to what the content, how important the content is. And what we see, and that's what Sylvia or Agustina touched on, I think, I don't remember which one of you two said that, is that sometimes you reach a new audience and then you provide a film with a new life, because it might have been shelved for a given time. And the fact that it garners some interest online means that some people might want to show it in real life cinemas. So hopefully when COVID ends, we'll get back to that. But what I like to stress is that a streaming platform is not a competition for cinema. It's actually an additional benefit. And we really see that in relationship with the authors and the directors we actually work with. This is something they actually come back on quite a bit.
Sorry, can you share with us, because they are asking on through the chat, how big is your audience in Teng? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, no problem. So we've got two types of audience. One is strictly B2C, so it's the likes of you and I. And we've got 10,000 plus people on a French platform. And we've got an additional 3,000 on, we've got a platform in Canada, and we've got a European platform as well. And
you
on
just
top of that,
launched, I think that you
they just launched a lot this year, actually. So it's not, don't blame me for the low levels, but we're hoping to grow that quite significantly next year with the help of media, actually, as well. And on top of that, we have a B2B audience, which is basically, libraries, the world of education, blah, blah, blah. And that's another 11,000 users, give or take.
Right. And I find it, if you could quickly state, and we go and give the floor to Vernon as well. I think it's an interesting kind of audience engagement strategy that you have a blog. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, what we have is, well, you know, it's an open secret that Tank is quite a political company in a way, and we're not exactly in line with our current government, shall we say. So we do have a blog where we make a position regularly and we push forward content. Additionally, we've got newsletters and the like, right? But we are a very strong-willed company in the sense that we have a very clear identity and we're perceived as such, and which is based around education. We believe that if people want to understand the world around them, they need to understand it. And one good tool is actually watching documentaries to do so. And so the way we use film is really also, it's not surprised that education is interested in us. It's also very much in helping people come to terms to the world, the world around them, and to try and, make their own decision about it and not just believe what's on the evening news, basically. Sorry if I'm curtailing this up, but it sounds a bit vulgar, but that's the end of it. And one thing I can say as well, because that's something I had Sylvain on the phone and he said, you really should say this, is that we're very happy to work with Israeli film directors already. So off the top of your head, he gave me 3 names. So I'm sorry because I'm going to completely mispronounce them, and I must apologize for that. One is Nurit Aviv. We of course have Amos Gitai, which even I know of, so that's quite a popular one. And we were really happy to show, what was the name of that film about how I overcame my fear and learned to love Arik Sharon? It was Avi Mograbi, I think it was. And so that's the kind of film we can show.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the kind of films we. Yeah, sorry, I knew I was going to get one wrong.
No, it was very close.
Oh, cheers, thanks. So that's the kind of film. Yeah, I thought having references from your market might help you understand exactly what we show and why we show them. So if there are any questions, or if Vernon wants
I have some questions, but I will let Vernon, and then I will ask you to both of you some common questions.
Okay.
We're trying to connect Vernon, but he's not answering. Can you?
Oh, it's not connected. Yeah,
but
no.
Can you still try to disconnect and connect again?
Well, actually, we hear Vernon speaking. We just don't see his face. But
Okay.
So
up to you if you want to continue.
What should I do?
Well, it will be great if you can introduce the Docs Online and your business model and yourself.
I'm Vernon Gielen, director of the Docs Online Foundation, and we are a VOD platform which exists since 2007. And through the years, we've been experimenting. We've developed a catalog, which isn't that big. We have about 1,000 films now online. But through the years, we realized that we had a challenge, and that is to get these films found. The more our catalog grew, we had the problem of trying to promote the films that had been in our catalog quite a long time. So if we had a new release, we had our subscribers that watched these films. But once these films had been online for, let's say, a few months, they were forgotten. So what we do or try to do every day is to find audiences for these older films online through algorithms, because we cannot actively promote each film, and especially not if we're growing every day with films. So we have to develop a strategy to make these films find their audience online. Currently we are using a lot of PPC. That means that we use AdWords to promote films and get noticed in Google. And we're using a strategy which is called topic clustering. I don't think anyone knows exactly what it is, but what it is, we try to develop a story that unites a section of films thematically in our catalog. So it's, let's say, for instance, now we're working on something, democracy in the New World Order. We have lots of films about democracy or about populism, And what we try to do is develop a story that takes a political position and then provide all the films that we have about that, try to fit all the films that we have in our catalog about that theme inside that story. So we give people a reason to watch these films. And we do that on a number of subjects every month. Doing that, we employ different business models. We used to do transactional VOD. We dropped that, but we may try to use it again for premieres or special releases. But the burden of our main business model is subscription VOD, and we are adding a VOD to it at the moment. And that's because SVOD does have a very big threshold for a lot of, offer a big threshold for a lot of viewers. People are not very willing to pay. They're just looking on the internet, looking for films. And if they have to pay for it, they go to YouTube and search the theme and find something that is free out there. So to connect people and engage people on our platform, we have a lot of AVOD films out there, and material of documentary films out there. To track people, to engage them on our website, and then perhaps when they return, pay for a subscription to be able to see everything. Yeah, that's about in a.
You are a global platform, right?
A local?
No, global.
Yeah, global. We're global. Yeah, in the Netherlands, we also do a lot of eVOD, educational VOD. And we do have a big contract with the local library, the National Library in the Netherlands, which is good for about 5 million users. But outside the Netherlands, we don't do any educational VOD, and it's all subscription and AVOD. But we do operate worldwide. So the website is also in English.
So as you see, he added, Sylvia, the eVOD. It's educational VOD, another word for the alphabet. So you see, this is a movement that is changing.
We call it eVOD, but
it's good. It's good.
It's educational VOD. Yeah.
Yes, that's nice. And just a very quick question, because there is a person that would like raise their hand to ask a question to you, to all of you. I don't know if Neely. Yes. Hi.
Hi. You just hear the voice, right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Okay. No, that's fine. Well, what I wanted to ask is actually, you see, there are films that you see on VOD, which actually you can get into them only via the distributor's website. So actually, it's the distributors again who are collaborating with the VOD platforms, like they collaborate with cinema, theaters, etc. Now, and of course, there are other platforms which are more, I would say, like libraries. You have a catalog, and you have, films that you can do either by, in a different kind of ways. You can see the film in streaming. Now, the question is, if it is I would say, more free library or curated library, like Dennis was, I think, presenting his platform, what is really the difference between that and just, putting the film on Vimeo Pro, which is like Vimeo on demand? People pay, I don't know, $3 or $4, whatever the director or the producer put in it. So, because in these kind of platforms, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis, like yours, there is no really, promotion or marketing or like a distributing. It's basically, putting the film, and hopefully people, get into it in the catalog, like in Amazon or whatever, and see the film, or someone else has to do the promotion. But maybe I'm mistaken, so I would really like to, if you can clarify on that.
I'm happy to clarify. I think maybe I was I was not very clear about how we do things. We actually do buy the films and put them online. That's one of our one of our jobs. But the other is actually promoting them. As as I mentioned, we do a lot of prescription. And that prescription is done in many ways. The blog, which Agustin was nice enough to prompt me about, because I was about to forget about it. We also do a lot of marketing, either directly with our engaged community. So that could be as yourself or non-PPC. It can be, addressing the community in Facebook groups or via Twitter or whichever, Instagram, the usual social networks. We also do a lot of events. We cooperate with festivals. We cooperate with well-known public bodies. I don't know how to call them otherwise, but it's like the French public radio, France Inter, France Culture. We also have a partnership with Télérama, which is the major French cultural weekly magazine, shall we say. And they program one event of ours a week. There's Mediapart, which maybe you've heard of, maybe not, is a large French online newspaper. And they also offer films to their audience every month. So that means that we have a panel of ways to engage with people. And also we have other typical marketing operations to grow our subscription base, which is, there's a number of, like for instance, watch out, there's going to be a Christmas operation in a couple of weeks, I think, with a discount to subscribe and reaching out to people to try and help them, learn about us and actually come on the film. But so the main argument, sorry, go ahead.
No, so in what way, actually, if someone wants to propose you a film which got award and was very successful and for you to consider, it just, communicating with you directly.
Yeah, well, we do work with a number of distributors. Sorry, I misunderstood your question. We do work with a number of distributors. I think there's only one distributor we work with in Israel. I think it's called Cinephile or something like that.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm not very. But what you can do, sorry.
I mean, no distributor. If someone is a distributor by himself, I mean.
Well, you can get in touch with us. We're happy to buy films. We're always looking for venues to find new, exciting films. As I said, usually the incoming stream is via programmers or a network of people we know are established professionals of the documentary world and who help us select films, because otherwise we'd need a team of 2,000 people to just get on top of things, and we don't, because the whole team at Insane Tank is about 15 people to run the company. So if you yourself, for instance, would like to have us consider some films, you can write to Sylvain if Sylvia and Agustin will allow it. I'm very happy to share our emails. You can write me as well. Denis.fevrier@tank.fr.
I'm going to share the contacts.
I'm quite happy to, and it's also not just about buying films. And if you want to continue the discussion further on, and you think you need further clarification.
No, yeah, well,
I'm available.
I was referring the question to you, but it is really a general question,
No,
yeah,
but
I think if I can moderate this, I think that the question is kind of more large. Maybe Vernon, you can also say something, because I also see another question from the audience.
Yeah.
How do we price our independent documentaries to VOD platform? I mean, how much we can how to license? I think that is more generic, like how we can license film. What about exclusivity between platforms, how it works? Because that's true, there are some platforms who ask for exclusive rights, some others, the majority, non-exclusive rights. I mean, I think that maybe you could say something about how to license, how to reach you, how to sell films online, because I think that many producers or distributors are kind of lost, because availability is not the problem. Films are online more than ever before. The problem is that people don't necessarily see them. So, the Vimeo thing is also nice to have a wall where you can put your stuff, but you need to work on it. So the work of VOD platforms is also about that, curated and engage audiences, but from the producers and the right audience, how they can deal.
Well, for Docs Online, our challenge is to make a film findable online. So if we have a film, we believe related to its subject, it should end up on the first search engine result page. If not, if we cannot make it found on the first engine search engine result page, very few people will watch it or see it. Well, that is I think the major task of all VOD platforms, unless they have a very big subscriber base. Unless they have a very big subscriber base, I don't think it's viable for filmmakers to be part of a SVOD platform, unless the SVOD platform makes a strong effort to promote those films. And that is, if you ask us for what is the price tag we could put on a film, it depends on the film. If you have to invest a lot in the film because SEO and PPC costs a lot of money. If you have to invest a lot in a film, it translates itself in the price that you're willing to pay for it. It also depends on the audience. Some subjects have a big audience and some other subjects have smaller audiences. If you have a big audience, if you have a film with a potentially big audience on the line, which is, you can do through keyword research, you can pretty much define the potential audience out there. You can decide how much a film is worth and how much you're willing to invest in it and how much you're willing to pay for it. So it all depends.
And if I could add something, the agreement that you make with the platform should be based on the business model that you have already named and we already addressed. And if you want to go through revenue share on rental or transactional, that's one thing. If the platform pays you a license fee to make your film part of their catalog is another thing. And you have to negotiate through those kind of tools and with that kind of tools and the business models of the platforms. So that's another thing.
Yeah, we always tell them, tell distributors what to expect for their film online. And sometimes we advise them to choose for a specific business model. Sometimes we have films, we see there's a lot of traffic, it's very findable online, but people are not paying for it. So we advise to put it on an AVOD, because AVOD usually doesn't pay $1.49 per view or €2 per view. It pays 2-3 cents per view. But if you have thousands of views, that does per month, that does translate into a considerable amount of income for those films. So it,
Berno, do you see some trends because you're working globally? So maybe you see some differences between, North and South America or Asia, because VOD is growing a lot in Asia. And so on.
Yeah, there are some curiosities. We are English, so we are most of our clients in the United States, in England, and Austria, but also in Germany for some reason. And we cannot how do you say that, explain that by a large English-speaking population in Germany, because there are a lot of people in the Scandinavian countries that speak very good English. Most of them speak perfect English, but our audience there is not as big. So, and what we also see, we see a big audience in India, and we cannot explain that. We don't have any films that I think are of particular interest to people in India. I think people in India are interested in things that happen in Europe and in the United States. And they do not have access to documentaries. I don't think documentaries are very mainstream in Europe, and in America it's not mainstream either, but it's still a huge niche. But I don't think in India it isn't even a big niche, but because there are millions, hundreds of millions of Indians, and if only a small percentage is interested, and interested in documentary films, they will find us, and I think that's why we see Indians being a considerable percentage of our viewers.
Yeah, because a niche,
Yeah.
even if we don't use this word, but
Yeah.
niche in India, it's big numbers in Europe, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the only way we can explain it, because we see them watching all sorts of films, and they represent, at this time, they represent about 3-4% of our audience. And we are not promoting anything in India. We are not using PPC for India. So yeah.
Actually, there is also
it's
an
something we are
interesting.
investigating. Hmm?
I was thinking about Filmdo, which is another of our platforms, and they work quite a lot actually with Asia. And one of they work a lot with metadata. And one of the interesting things that I discovered is that people were looking for a film because they were learning languages. So they were not. Yeah, so basically they discovered that through surveys and so on. And so thanks to that, they actually are changing their business models and going to edutainment. So they are using especially short formats, so also some documentaries, because not all documentaries are 2 hours long. And they are using, they are focusing a lot on this kind of content, because they are now offering a different kind of deal and with the rights for edutainment. So basically they have this tool that allows people to learn languages while seeing the films, and you can see the same films on several devices in the family, and you can have your own way of seeing it and interacting for discovering the word, what that means, or so. So maybe actually yes, people are looking for English content. They just want diversity, basically. They just want to learn the culture of other countries.
Could very well be.
There are other questions here among the public.
Yes, there were. Snow was asking again about in general terms if we could go through. For instance, I'm going to have like a keyword here, which should be exclusivity of windows between platforms, because that's kind of interesting. Regarding, I don't know if Denis or Vernon, Vernon, you would like to take the lead on this one, because I think there's kind of something misunderstood between independent filmmakers regarding this, because they think if they go with an agreement with the VOD, they are blocked to show this content online places.
It depends. We feel at documentaries, we feel from the beginning, we feel very strongly about being exclusive or non-exclusive. We've always chosen for non-exclusivity, because if you are, unless you are willing to pay a substantial minimum guarantee, I believe a platform should offer their contract non-exclusive, because we all have different audiences, and if you ask for exclusivity, you ask for the distributor to give up on certain audiences out there. So you have to be. We believe you should be very careful about that. I don't know about Tank. We are non-exclusive.
There are just a couple of things, because we are running maybe a little late, but there are some questions from the audience that are also interested. The first one is, a lot of filmmakers are selling the films their own. They don't have a sales agent, they don't have a distributor, and they are asking how we can contact VOD platform. There are so many of them. So I would like just to say a couple of things about that. First of all, it's the same problem when you have a film, you want to put it in theatrical. Of course, you are not a specialist of all the cinemas all around the world. So of course, it's not easy for you, because you are more focused on doing the content instead of selling. So sometimes if you get lost in all these, there are aggregators. There are agents that can help you out in find the right platform, because it is hard and it is a kind of job. You can of course begin with some platforms, as Agustina said, go in EUROVOD Pro. Really, there is even a free trial. At least you can download the contacts. Begin in starting with that, and even asking suggestions. For instance, you, Vernon or Denis, what you will suggest to a filmmaker who doesn't know to which platform to go, because it's not just about Netflix, and that is completely clear. And also, they said about the legal term, it depends from the film or not. No, it's not just depending from the film. It's depending from other things, the price or the deal that you do. So
yeah, what I would suggest is to put for distributors their films on as many platforms as possible, and make a selection by platforms that appeal to them. That they have an idea, oh well, this platform looks nice, it has context that, you know, I think that my film will be able to represent my film strongly. Just personal. Look at all the platforms out there, make a selection, but put the film on as many of them as possible. Because if your film makes 20 euros here, 30 euros there, 100 euros there, it's still every month, it still adds up to substantial income. But if you only focus on one platform, yeah.
Well, then you'd be dependent on the marketing effort that platform can produce, which is, as we've discussed, very limited, unless you're Netflix. And if you've got content that would interest Netflix, I don't think we'd be having this chat tonight, to be honest. So, you know, and I wouldn't really advise to go for Netflix unless you have a catalog to give them, and a large one of that, and that you're ready to sell it out for not much money, to be very honest with you. But I agree with Vernon. I mean, the best idea you have, same here, saying we do non-exclusive. Well, one, because economical reasons, as you stated, Vernon, and again, I agree with you, because we believe that what we want is to see the films out there. I mean, you know, we're film enthusiasts first and foremost. If we, you know, I think if we wanted to make bucket loads of money, we probably wouldn't be in that business, because, you know, there is money in it, but, you know, there are competitive, you know, there's more money out there somewhere else. So the idea is that, you know, we'll be supportive, and also you can take a gradual approach to it. You can go on, you know, make a first selection of platforms, realize 3 months later you're wrong, go to other platforms. If anybody asks you for exclusive rights, then they have to pay a very large amount up front. Otherwise, it's not worth it. I wouldn't do it.
And if I can say,
there's something I would like to add to that, because I know some distributors are really shopping around, and then they put a film on a website for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then it's not working very well. They take it off and go to another platform. But I would also suggest to keep a film on for really quite a while, because if you want to get noticed and findable on the internet, it takes at least, even for the platform to promote your film through SEO, it takes at least, let's say, a half year to a year before your film will turn up on the first engine result page. So you have to be patient in that. But once it's up there, if you have, for instance, you have a film about, let's say, democracy, just something that springs on in my mind, you know, and it's well tagged on the internet. You know, there's an audience of about 300,000 people a month searching for that keyword. And you know, if you end up on the first engine result page, that about 10–20% of those people will visit your film. So if you put it online in AVOD, at least half of those people will start watching your film, so it will generate ad revenue. However, if you have it on subscription VOD, a lot less people will pay for it, because it's a big threshold to have to pay for a subscription immediately, or transactional VOD immediately. But you know, about 3–4% of those people will also pay for that. So if you are patient and allow these platforms to do their work, their promotional work for you, it will pay off eventually. How much that is, it depends on the platform, and it depends on the audience targeted, but it will pay off. So that's what I suggest, to be patient.
I agree with you, Ben. Also, I want to say, you know, you have to watch out for a long run, because payoffs on VOD platforms are, unless you're Disney Plus, pretty low, because that's the way of the business. You know, streams are not valued very highly, even on SVOD platforms, and it's even worse on AVOD. I mean, AVOD is probably going to not, you know, if it garners you €100 in the first month, you're very lucky, very, very lucky. The good thing about SVOD is that you know that you're targeting a qualified audience, so you know people on that platform will want to watch your content.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that's, you know, that's, and I agree with Vernon, there's a balance to be made. And for instance, me as the manager of Tank, if you tell me you want to put your platform somewhere else at the same time, I could just go ahead. I mean, you know, we feel very strong about prescription. I saw there was another, another thing, another question that just popped up about
exactly.
non-English speaking films.
Exactly.
I'd like to address that one.
Yeah, please go. How popular are non-English speaking films for your audience?
Well, very much, because if you look at the platform on Tank, I think the majority of our films are non-French and non-English speaking. And what we put in focus are usually films that come from, you know, anywhere in the world, because that's the sort of diversity we want to push forward. And I think that's also the wealth of the platform. And today, any platform that tells you they can't manage subtitles or they don't want foreign, you know, films, it's just don't listen to them. I mean, you know, it's solutions exist and they're pretty straightforward to find. So if they've not got them, it's, you know, there's something wrong about that platform. And also, it's actually our interest to have as much diversity as we can, because typically people who want to watch documentaries, to be honest, in my experience anyway, maybe I'm biased because of, you know, the premise of Tank that I mentioned earlier, they're people who are very open-minded. You know, they want to find out about the world. They're not interested about finding out about the bad garden. Usually, you know, they're not closed-minded people. So, to the contrary, you know, go out and, you know, find the platforms to distribute your film.
But maybe from the perspective of the person who is looking for a VOD platform, you should think a little bit about the material when you submit your films or your content to a platform. Even if you're non-English, please provide English subtitles. Please try to, I mean, maybe you could say something about what will be the ideal filmmaker or distributor that deal with you about the material.
Tank, what we're really looking forward is metadata as well, and, you know, stuff that we can base our prescription and our editorial on. But as far as subtitles go, we do them ourselves. We've got a team of people who actually write out the subtitles for us. We also do subtitles for, you know, the hearing impaired or whatnot. That's a service that's included in Tank. But of course, if you already got your SRT files, we're happy. We'll take whatever you have.
But I've heard about some platforms that were complaining because they were receiving, for instance, some Japanese films without any subtitles, you know. And if you're coming from all around, for instance, from Israel, maybe not all the platform will find, you know, the
I agree, but
subtitle from.
But perhaps it's a matter of perhaps sending a trailer with English subtitles or a teaser. Or some information.
Well, that could work. I mean, trailers with English subtitles won't set you back a lot of money, because the problem about subtitles, if you're not sure, if you haven't got the financial backing and you're not sure how much revenue you're going to make, that's a big step, because it is quite costly, right? We can do it because the minute we've bought a film, we're committed to selling it, so we're doing the subtitles. And I think that's also a way that we can actually approach films that would not get to market because of that hurdle, right? So yeah, definitely just don't worry about the subtitling. And to answer your question, if somebody buys a film in Japan, gets a film in Japanese and complains, I mean, why did he buy a Japanese film to start with, you know, to be honest? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a bit blunt.
But there are some platforms work really well with people all around the world, but sometimes it's hard to find, you know, the tech requirements or.
Yeah, I'm joking. Sorry, it's just I'm saying, you know, if you know.
I never understand your joke, Denis. We had to do a workshop about that.
We have to get used to it, aren't you?
Vernon, you would like to add something? About the material, subtitles, because about
Well,
if you need it to be subtitled in a specific language or not.
No, we need it subtitled in English or English speaking. So if it's not English speaking or not English spoken, we need the English subtitle. Sometimes we do the translation, but because it's it depends on how much we assess the investment for that film. But we would really like to have an English subtitled version, which is I've never had the experience of not of an English subtitle not being available.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's quite common. Okay, it's 7:10 here in Europe. Now it's like 8:10 p.m. in Israel.